Have you ever searched for an app you used to love only to realize it's gone? Well, Apple has a long history of removing even the most popular apps from the App Store. Sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for controversial ones.
Let's get right into it.
Everyone knows Fortnite. Fortnite is best known for its fast-paced battle royale gameplay where 100 players fight to be the last one standing, along with its colorful graphics and viral in-game dances. By 2020, Fortnite wasn't just a game. It was a global phenomenon. Millions of players were logging in every day to build, battle, and of course, show off their victory dances. But behind the fun, Epic Games, the company that made Fortnite, was getting tired of one thing: Apple's famous 30% cut on every in-app purchase. Every time a player bought V-Bucks, Apple took a big slice of the pie. So Epic decided to push back. They slipped a direct payment option into the app, letting players buy their V-Bucks straight from Epic. No middleman, no 30% fee. In other words, they basically told Apple, "Thanks, but we'll handle our own money." Apple didn't appreciate that little act of rebellion. Within hours, Fortnite vanished from the App Store. Just gone. No warning, no grace period, just a swift digital eviction. Epic wasn't about to go quietly, though. They released a parody of Apple's old 1984 ad, painting Apple as the corporate overlord they once claimed to fight against. Then came the lawsuits, the press releases, and the endless internet debates. It became one of the biggest tech showdowns in years, a war over control, money, and who really owns the digital space on your phone. Millions of iPhone users were left hanging. The game still worked, already had it downloaded, but updates stopped. No new seasons, no new skins, nothing.
But wait! Fortunately, Epic Games and Apple were able to settle their differences, and Fortnite was back on the App Store on the 20th of May, 2025. So here's a wild one. There was a time when you could open your phone and see if immigration officers were nearby, thanks to apps like IC eBlock and De-icer. Yep, real apps. They helped immigrant communities avoid raids, share alerts, and stay safe. They became pretty popular too. IceBlock had over 1 million downloads. It wasn't Candy Crush level big, but for a niche app about real-world safety, that's huge. Then, one day, poof, gone. Apple quietly removed them from the App Store. No big announcement, no dramatic headline, just a quiet delete. When people started asking why, Apple said something about user safety and potential misuse, which, sure, sounds reasonable, until you realize misuse can mean anything Apple doesn't like. Critics, of course, had questions. Civil rights groups called it censorship. They argued that these apps weren't breaking laws, they were helping people avoid being detained or separated from their families. Meanwhile, government officials were reportedly not fans of citizens getting push notifications about where their officers were. And let's just say Apple probably didn't want that smoke. So the apps disappeared, and a quiet message was sent. If your app deals with politics, privacy, or protest, tread carefully. Because in Apple's world, it's not just viruses or scams that get you banned. Sometimes, it's politics. Ah, Flappy Bird. The game that made you rage, throw your phone, and then immediately tap restart. Back in 2014, it took over the internet. Everyone was playing it. In school, at work, even in the bathroom. The goal was simple. Tap the screen to keep your little bird from smashing into pipes. That's it. No story, no graphics, just pain and pride. The game was made by a single developer in Vietnam, Dong Nguyen. It wasn't meant to be a global hit, but within months, it was topping charts and pulling in about $50,000 a day in ad revenue. Pretty good for a game that looked like it was made in Microsoft Paint. It was proof that a game didn't need massive budgets or fancy graphics to hook people. It just needed to hit the right nerve. Then, out of nowhere, it vanished. Dong took it down himself, saying the
My
fame
name
and
is
attention were
Dong Nguyen.
too much.
Today I would like to announce that I will be shutting down Flappy Birds for good. Now,
But that didn't stop people from asking if Apple had anything to do with it. While Apple didn't ban Flappy Bird directly, they did start rejecting all the copycats flooding the App Store. And there were thousands of them. Flappy Doge, Flappy Bieber, Flappy anything. Apple basically said, enough flapping already. Phones with Flappy Bird installed were suddenly selling for crazy prices on eBay. For a while, it became a collector's item, a tiny piece of internet history trapped on an old iPhone. As for Dong Nguyen, he stayed mostly out of the spotlight. He released a few smaller games afterward, like Swing Copters and Ninja Spinky challenges, but none reached the same viral heights. In the end, Flappy Bird proved one thing. Sometimes an app doesn't need to break the rules to disappear. It just needs to drive the entire world a little too crazy. Now, this one's straight out of a spy movie. In early 2025, players woke up to find that Marvel Snap, one of the most popular mobile card games, had vanished from Apple's App Store in the US. No warning, no see you later, just gone. At first, people thought it was a glitch, maybe a server issue, maybe someone forgot to pay the Apple bill. But nope, the real reason was way more political. Marvel Snap was published by Nuverse, a company owned by ByteDance. Yeah, the same folks behind TikTok. And since the US government wasn't exactly feeling TikTok vibes lately, the game got caught in the crossfire. So Apple, always eager to stay on the right side of the law, quietly removed it. One day you're building superhero decks, the next day Iron Man can't even load. Players were furious. This wasn't some shady scam app, it was Marvel. People had spent months collecting cards, building teams, and arguing online about who's better, Doctor Doom or Thanos. Then suddenly, all gone because of geopolitics. It was one of those moments where gamers realized something bigger. Your favorite app doesn't just depend on downloads or reviews. It depends on global politics and billion-dollar tech rivalries. So yeah, Marvel Snap wasn't banned for breaking rules. It was banned for being in the wrong company at the wrong time. And for once, even superheroes couldn't save it.